Kalau saya solai matul bakal ngi tahun mergi dar ada belau rokui tiada sal ngal tengah presiden tamlos esmi ka se sel temel me du merda dar la tutau e sola kuk mo modo tu urgi del tiada ngil tang ngi ma ambassador gi del Mr. Stuart Beck ngi ambassador gi del Mora United Nation sola ngat tengah tiada la tutau a presiden tamal kami amat ngel waseng malulis sang e sola toka toko gi del albangal gi del mangat mokla di panbreng asulen mo sepel kuk metiang e solang e mamuda dua rater belau loya ka MPTV ma loya sigide solang e ngil tu tahun morar beklater belau rogui en pokultur mek mu amai kergi del ngum sanga a President Johnson Toribiong belum ora program gitu dalam tu tahun Mr. President.
Agame gutera ambassador Stuart Beck mengak ibu siak mal lungil tu tahun del morar belau rogui iliak timur tirgelo mes television Ral sel mai kred belau maroreng sera radio. Egum te gido rogui atar belau makabel men tergi de kudersi asu seranga kal morai bedul maraklai maru bugul belau rogui. Ma senat president, ma senator ser rogui, ma house speaker, ma delegate ser rogui, ma governors, ma atar olbi rekal state ser belau rogui. Direct mora abilung Ebi reklai par masir belau rogui. Direct mora Chief Justice marogu judges. Akan itu mertial program ra WFM lingia kaya ka television ma radio egor kami rogui. Logi wadru legal ngartial dru alla akla president lingia dru alla komisyon na blur belau. Akara bitara ambassador Stuart Beck ya panderang ram rigel mabelang arulam te ol trato gubet sel del wilder bela mablu ram rigel pokre ungel sel del bil rail moklo lo pengela duram rigel compact of free association ak medum rugmiu len dia kalarang ak momrai rasandera tudak lebsei lo pengela ambassador koshiba martamam el morsel meeting el moringira honolulu el moringira gotel kopsingil Tialmel el September, lihat klub say. Lo benggel tiradura Miguel Frankie Reed baradal. Yak malat kel morogir tial sotela kompakt. Lega tamlangu sel arang lelau do el bodo spering la kalmel trina imrak. Lo benggel federal programs ma projects. Endi drak bol bertakla abingel tialu do. Michael Miguel tingit talur reora agureng los ngom got mok mo sergot lungira dur belau rakal mel tu imrak bagi direct lungita ngil lungu mauldasu ligirek talom rolam bol ngal tangat awul mago benggela ambassador Beck ngal ambassador Beck mangak adila kara ulel telom sudela meliak belau rakal Yunus ra Micronesia emersa rakam pak tra mok drwil Algot mo ilak lablur belau le chairman ng mama late senator Romat Mutul. Mang suam direk ngoti al tutau mo gera mo ikatmo ka karger. Ligirel tal logat PL abelau no ilak belu. Akplo ol duli sa kamiri kli marangal currency abol mereka makamat. Arda mardalat amrika sar ewal telael. Yaban metal gibra Aldalela Trust Territorial Pacific Islands. Emeral mulmong ya belawa tuob el modiakal ngara aldalela ay kaliun sa Micronesia. Siradot ngekli sel luot timira FSM el ngakatara melu sirngi inti adal belaw dot ngekli. Umloringia iliak el commissioner gid el mersatra compact mag-convention el melu sira otimela luot. Na mereka tru na imerak ra uriura dong compact. Ketinggilu sera October 1 ra 1994. Sehingga nomu ulak LCL buat meloto gurits. Yang utimela luut makampak erul Waldo Tai. Rebelau meloto gurits. Baktungun mo segide bayang ulam sa Stuart Beck. Ambassador Beck, first of all, on behalf of the people and the government of the Republic of Palau, I want to thank you for your tireless services, outstanding services before the United Nations, where you have been representing our people and our government with dignity. I'd like to recognize and congratulate you for having been elected once as Vice President of the United Nations General Assembly. And I know you and I work together. We first met in Molokai during one of the compact negotiations, I think in the late 70s.
This was the first time Palau really came to the table.
So a lot of people do not know you. I know you are a graduate of Harvard and Yale. I think you received your undergraduate degree from Yale?
From Harvard.
From
President,
Harvard,
yeah.
and your law degree, Juris Doctor from Yale.
Yes.
Two outstanding, very prestigious universities. So I like to have the young Palauan people who do not know the genesis of the compact negotiations and the separation of Palau from the rest of Micronesia, which led to our independence. Would you please explain to the young Palauans how you joined the Palauan team and how you have remained with us all these years?
And I heard that he went to school with Hillary Clinton. Is it true?
Yes, and we both met Hillary Clinton on March 12, 2009.
I see.
So let's make it very informal, because I like the young students.
That's right.
Because when I realized that we just celebrated the 3rd anniversary of our Constitution and the 15th of our Compact of Free Association, I know a lot of kids, young people under the age of 30, may not have the full understanding and knowledge of the history that Palau went through to achieve its independence in free association with the United States. So please explain. Tell your story.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Of course, it's an honor to be here with you today, and it's an honor to be here with Senator Diaz, because when I'm here observing the freedom of the press that exists in Palau, and when I observe you sitting in front of this Palauan flag, it makes me think back to the time when there was no media in Palau and there was no Palauan flag. And that's when we first met. Our job was to get that flag.
And I interrupt. Now we have the stars and stripes and the full moon.
It's true.
Celestial bodies.
It's true.
So full moon really means the fullness of nature.
Yes.
When it's dark, it brightens the earth.
Very true. Very true.
So when I came here for the first time in 1977, there was no Palauan flag. The only idea of Palau existed in the minds of the Palau Political Status Commission, which was a wonderful group of men. The chair was Roman Matul. And I was fortunate enough to be told that this was a country about to be born. That after 4 successive colonial administrations, Palau was stirring with the idea of its own sovereignty. This was not something which made a lot of people happy, Mr. President. A lot of people were unhappy. And these were people who had a vested interest in the continuation of the status quo, which had been created really by the Japanese under the League of Nations, where all of Micronesia was thought to be one administrative entity, convenient, except Roman Matul and the members of the Palau Political Status Commission were not buying that vision of the world. They had this crazy idea that even though Palau, at that time the smallest group of people who wanted to be a country in the world, could actually be a country. And I was happy to be hired as the U.S. lawyer.
Who hired you?
Roman Matul.
Where?
In New York, around the first visit that you came to New York as a group of nationalists fighting to become a country. And I was lucky enough to meet you then and say, gee, this must have been why I went to law school, to actually be able to do something valuable, something of importance and something of value. So I was hired then to be the president's counterpart. He was the Palauan lawyer, and I was the American lawyer who represented the Palau Political Status Commission in the negotiations. And Roman never did anything without a real idea behind it. And his idea was that the president, then a fiery young lawyer, would only say nice things to the Americans. And whenever we had anything not nice to say, then I would have to say that.
So what's the strategy?
That was the strategy.
You mentioned Roman is the chairman of the committee. I remember Dr. Minoru Ueki, now our ambassador to Japan, as the vice chairman.
That's right.
Do you remember other members?
Oh, of course. These were the men who set out, like the people who formed the United States, to make a country. And these were Polycarp Basilius, George Nyirasol,
John Nyrakid,
Kunio Nakamura, and Sadang Silmai, and Santos Olakong. These were a group of people who, they were not even really paid elected officials. They were chiefs looking to make Palau a country. There was no money in it. In fact, the drive for sovereignty, in part, was paid for with Roman Matul's American Express card.
Sometimes to supplement, and they share rooms. But to make the record clear, the Political Status Commission was a bipartisan party. Both the members of the Liberal Party then and the Progressive were united because they say politics end at the shoreline of Palau. Once you go outside of Palau, you become one commission.
I see.
Termitate Haji Reklai was one of the members. Aibadul was one of the members. Father Felix at one time was a member. It was the cross-section of Palau. And I met Stuart for the first time in the island of Molokai in Hawaii. I remember him, I was the only spokesperson for the Palauan side. Most of them did not speak English. And I saw you coming in and took the chair next to me, wearing a white shirt, and you tied a gray sweater around your neck. And you appeared to be very radical and direct.
How old was he when?
You were young.
At the
I think we were 28,
28 years
27,
old.
yes, you were young.
29.
Freshly out of school.
No fear.
No fear.
We thought we lived to tell our story the next day.
I see.
Bushy hair.
This was the most, this meeting was really the first time that Palau stood up and said, we want to be at the table. President Carter had invited Palau to negotiate. This was a big deal. Up to that time, we were not allowed to negotiate. So when we got to this meeting, Roman Matul wanted to make it clear what the true basis of the relationship was between the United States and Palau. And what he did was say, Johnson, Stuart, what I want you to do is expose the people to the fact that what the Americans pay for in Palau is denial of Palau to the rest of the world.
Giving the United States exclusive right
I see.
to Palau's waters and land for defense and security purposes.
Perpetually.
Perpetually, okay.
Now, up to that time, no other country in the world really gave those rights to the United States. So we perceived that that was something of value that needed to be compensated, that Palau was not a beggar country, it was renting something out, something very important to the United States. But in those days, Senator, not everyone on the Palauan delegation spoke English.
I see.
It was very important to explain to them with a Palauan concept what this denial idea meant, because denial is the essence of the relationship between Palau and the United States. Denial. So I said to Johnson Toribiong, the young lawyer, I said, I wish you could explain to the group what it means, this concept of denial, what Palauans are giving. And he thought for a minute, he said, you know, this is really like Palau is allowing the United States to build a fence around it.
I used the Japanese word,
And you
kakine,
Kakine.
Kakine, I see.
around Palau.
Now as I watch the Palauan delegation, now they finally understood what the negotiation was really all about. And if you owned a home and you allowed your neighbor to build a fence around your home, you would expect to be compensated for that.
In those days, the ambassador was Mr. Rosenblatt.
Peter Rosenblatt.
Peter Rosenblatt. Let's fast track to your recommendation that Palau no longer needs any other attorney, but needed a consultant who can elevate the status of our negotiations to the White House. Explain that.
At that time, before there was media, before there was a Senator Diaz, before there were newspapers, the story of Palau was really hidden in the back offices and back channels of the Defense Department and the State Department. There was no public face for this drive for independence. So Chairman Matul said, you know, you really could help us if you could find us somebody who could validate what we're trying to do here. So I remembered my old professor from Harvard University, the giant, both literally and figuratively, of the American intellectual scene, John Kenneth Galbraith. And I called Professor Galbraith and I said, Professor, I would like you to meet the Palauan nationalists, Roman Matul, Sadang Silmai, and their lawyer, Johnson Toribiong. And we would like to come to you and make a case for your helping Palau to become an independent country.
Let me interrupt. He was the former ambassador of the United States to India under President Kennedy.
That's right.
And he's an author of a lot of economics textbooks.
Yes. Probably the most famous academic of Harvard when I was there. We came to see Professor Galbraith in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And we told him the story of Palau. But it's important to say that before we got to Professor Galbraith's house, for you young people out there who may think that the Palau became a country, one day it woke up and it was a country, it didn't happen like that. Like every move for independence, we had opposition. And in this case, the opposition seemed to include powerful forces within the United States, because the night before we went to see Professor Galbraith, President Toribiong and the delegation stayed at a hotel near my house.
Mayflower Hotel.
The Mayflower Hotel on Central Park West. And we all went to bed and we were very happy because the next day we were going to Cambridge. And in the middle of the night, the door to the president's room was knocked down. Kicked open by policemen in plain clothes who came to his bed with guns on him, woke him up and said, "You're a burglar. You're in the wrong room. Get up, get up."
And I was frightened, to say the least. And my roommate was Jack Penland, who was married to a Palawan lady, who somehow joined us along the way. And
was he a lawyer?
No, he was an economist.
I see.
And he was married to a Palawan woman from Malgaok, had children. But when they kicked the door open and put two rifles toward us, I was frightened. But I said, I'm not a burglar. And Jack Penland woke up and did not appear to be as frightened as I was. So not wanting to die with my shorts, I said, let me put my clothes on and let's go down to the lobby. So we went to the lobby with these officers with guns. And I told them, we are guests of this hotel. Please check our records. And they checked the record for our room and our names were not there. Jack Penland and I. So I called Roman Matul to come down, and he came. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. And he came and said, these are members of my delegation. And we paid for their rooms. And they checked the records again, and they found our names assigned to a different room than the one we occupied.
I see. On purpose? Was it done on purpose?
We don't know. But actually, the morning of that night, we were supposed to get up in the morning and join you, Roman and Sarang, at your law office. And we woke up late, about an hour or two late than we were supposed to. So I called Roman's room. Nobody answered the phone. I called Sarang's room. Nobody answered the phone. So I tried to look for your telephone number, your law office. I couldn't find your name in the directory. And Jack Penland woke up and said, call this number. And recited and gave me the number by memory. And I called that number and they gave me your phone number. And he said, you know, I have a photographic memory. When he went into Stuart Beck's law office, I saw the number across the room, across the aisle. So I called it. That kind of puzzled me. And then he would tell me, do you know that whenever you ask for a taxi cab, the same driver shows up? And there are thousands of taxi cabs in New York.
That's the work of CIA.
Well,
Anyway, we went to Cambridge with you. We presented a storyboard to Goldbright, the story of the Spider-Man, Mangitabrut Coil,
Yeah.
who, according to our lessons, introduced to the Palawans the procedure for natural birth of children, because before it's all by C-section. So the storyboard was meant to symbolize the birth of a new nation. And we met Professor Goldbright, and go ahead, pick it up from there. He signed out.
well, Professor Galbraith was very close friends with Walter Mondale, who was then the Vice President of the United States. And he was a friend of President Carter's. The American negotiators came to him and they said, Professor Galbraith, this country is too small to be a country. You shouldn't help them. And Professor Galbraith said, no. He says, this country is about the size of Athens at the time of Pericles. So I think they'll be very successful.
Then he gave us the book entitled Small is Beautiful by Schumacher.
That's right. He believed that small was beautiful. He said, you know, think about it. When I was the ambassador to India, if there was a problem, it involved 25 million people, nobody could solve it. He said, in your country, if you have a problem, it'll involve 10 people, you'll solve it. And of course, he was right. That simple understanding was what helped him go to Mondale and say, no, call off the CIA, stop harassing these young lawyers. Now I'm on the team. I cannot be harassed. I'm a very high official of the United States. So they called off the team. We were saved, and Palau became a country.
And he then signed a retainer agreement which made him the Palau Political Status Commission's consultant at the expense for a fee of $1 per annum, which he then declined to receive.
Yeah. He wouldn't even take travel expenses or hotel. He
Anyway,
traveled entirely on his own.
so we laid the foundation for Palau separation, the compact for Palau as a separate entity. I mean, there are more stories to be told, but let's fast track to how we met Hillary Clinton when I took office.
So, Mr. President, how long you've known each other? Over 40 years?
In the 70s, 77.
Till 1977, we met for the first time at the UN Trusteeship Council sessions in June of 1977.
About 40-some years.
We were in our
43 years.
late 20s. Yeah.
You
Wow.
were still young at the time, 28 years old.
Full head of hair.
And the president also had a bushy hair too.
We were both, we had afros, both of us.
That's why he had a better understanding. And you were not married, Mr. Stuart Beck.
Correct.
Correct.
And you came to Palau and you found your wife here.
I
You met your wife here?
finally, after getting only $1 a year, I finally got compensated
I see.
by meeting Tulik
I see.
and becoming her husband.
And let me put it this way. So we worked together to establish the Compact of Free Association. And after that, he worked with Tulik to establish the nuptial compact.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I've known you for quite some time too, since when I came to Palawan. I met him, and then we went to United Nations, and he took us to his home, upstate New York. Takes about 30 minutes by train. I enjoyed that ride. Anyway, he's got a beautiful home upstate New York, and that's where we broadcast the speech of then President Toribiong,
Which we heard here in Palau.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, that was very nice. And sir, you're not only an ambassador of Palau to United Nations, you're also a businessman. You know, I'm so proud of you for part of a nation building by bringing in a new company. And this is the water. This is the water that Stuart Beck and his partner Glenn Seed, they just signed a 50-year lease from Imalik State. And this is what they are going to produce. It says Palau Fresh Coconut Water. I just tasted it for the first time, and it's really good. You gotta taste it, you know. And they're gonna start producing these, you know, and it's probably gonna come out in different bottle, but look for it when you get to the market and taste it. I ask you to taste it. You love it. I just tasted it, and I really like it. And this is also another source of revenue for Palau and jobs opportunity for many Palauans. Now, those people living in Imalik are going to be able to work with, you're going to hire some of them, okay, and it's a revenue for the state and also the Republic. So I really thank you for this, and looking forward to do business with you, because I'm thinking about doing the same thing, you know. We have lots of open land, and President just declared a green revolution, okay? And we must, and you were the first one to do this, you know. So that will encourage us to do the same. And I think if we all do the same, you know, we all prosper in terms of economic development. I thank you, sir.
I thank you, and I predict to you that Palau Fresh, which was named by President Toribiong.
Oh.
It was first called Pure Palau or Palau Pure.
He changed the name.
Instead of coconut
It was
juice,
it's Palau Fresh.
fresh.
That's the brand. And I predict to you, Senator, that in a year or two, we will be one of your biggest advertisers.
Sure. I like the label, the one, a green revolution matched with the label and the color, you know?
Well, this is a prototype of the process, but we actually are going to build a large processing plant in Imalik and plan, hopefully, with help from President Toribiong and the government and with other partners who we've been talking to create an export business along the lines of Fiji water.
I see.
Because you see, the Palau name is even better than Fiji. And Palau coconut water is a lot better than water. So we believe that by creating an export product, the whole world will begin to know about Palau.
That's
They'll
right.
want to come and say, where did this wonderful thing come from? And this way, we're helping the children of the world by cutting down obesity. We're helping the environment by planting trees. And we're activating the president's green revolution by giving jobs that will preserve our environment. In other words, if we can have this kind of a Palauan company, then we won't need to build industries that pollute. We'll go back to the things that are best about this country. So thanks for the free publicity.
Yes, thank you.
Senator, very much. And I can assure you that we're going to do our best. Glenn's seed, this is Glenn's vision. Glenn is the farmer.
That's right.
And this is Glenn's vision. But now together, I think all of us, with the president naming it, we're now obligated to have this in New York, in Los Angeles, in
Abu
Tokyo,
Dhabi.
and in Abu Dhabi.
And you know, Fiji is known throughout the world because of their water.
It is.
The water,
That's
you know.
it.
So if we all do the same, you know, we don't have to advertise Palau. It goes with the water.
It is.
Goes with the
Huge
Palau
free
fresh
publicity.
coconut water.
So we hope everyone will plant trees now, and we will soon open a coconut market where every coconut that's grown can come to us. We will pay cash money for it, and we will then produce and bottle and export it, thereby raising the value of every coconut in Palau.
And let me say that his investment with Linseed in the coconut water coincides with my policy promoting the Green Revolution. And your company leased how much land from Imalix?
1 million square meters, and plus we're already talking about an adjacent million more square meters.
And you plan to plant how many coconut trees?
President, the way we see it, we can put 25,000 coconut trees
That's a lot.
on 1 million square meters. And our ultimate aim is to have 100,000 coconuts on our plantation. So that would be 4 million square meters.
Let me then say something in Palawan about my Green Revolution and the coconut
Sure.
planting program. Mego ay silwa se ataragi moru ringit program lel tial Green Revolution tial mru rebelaun mo tokata lomer ringi. Openggela ay gel grant tra Republic of China Taiwan. Belang ut mau tawreor donglel el almon mo tra December 31 ya gimlat agi target el malala ma 10,000 el lius rablu belau babel dao. El Alsils
Kunang tigra ut mo.
Alex Soritia.
Oh.
Mas el Alsils Minister National Resources, Environment and Tourism, Harry Fritz.
Oh, okay.
A Omara Lius, el Malara Blilio, mangayang lamangi diligir. Imol Lius, a imol makaaral. Sen mulmel lungil dalom na. Tamaska imol Lius. Ayos ba 10,000. Nga mga durar pek governor sa babal daw. Ito mahar trigel boy kel dia kaududir. Dia kaurerir. Mangoswir sel goler gamamal wase. Kada mo si ka te allara akarul el mortrigel dia aurerir ara belaw. Ya programa atal dilima imo lius. Engu the $5 per aklim kluk. Magindal ma 10,000 agi oiti ogi mil telaela. Melang mo invite traffic governor, magmumlil traffic la kalbek belur babal tao. Ito mamlala malius. Ang ulum dagi ngara a hour atau udu la sikang. Atar bela atir tira pai malalama. Ya kadom do de tira gel dalami. La sumo do se kada pay by the hour. Mo betok o mga us ma aldo du. Esem du kada dole mi ngwa klim kluk e kom kok dual mata.
Masih.
Ngwa tela o kim kluk. Mang imora reol morngi. In the Republic of China, asoral bornya plantation. Mendia asoral di malala mel kabar berri. Suatu masa global news. Mga ka Stuart Beck amla agree. Wasya bola ka ut mala state el moklo. Remula ngil coconut plantation. Yasiring to kasyabal. Mla agree. Wasya if we start planting on your tract of land where the workers, where the planters get $5 per coconut, we will get an investment interest in your company.
$10.
$10. So when you start producing coconut water, the coconut we planted will have a return to the country.
Yeah.
So we work hand in hand.
And then, President, if we're very, very successful and we bring in a Coca-Cola or a Hershey or a Pepsi-Cola and we sell the company, Palau will make a lot of money.
So we will launch the coconut plantation as the first step in our green revolution until December. But it will go on and on.
We keep planting.
And following it, like avocado, mangoes, you name it. So we somehow our plans converged
They always have, actually.
and are moving forward. But this is an option. If no state has land available, we'll hire their boys or girls to work on their tract of land and get the same amount of money and an investment in return for the Republic of Palau. Kasi siul time, Emla ori raigel, derul tialael, tulong akraraw, digel koraboy. Orange mapelelew. I gave all the rose traffic states a senator. Matumom tuklo, asakar I gel marine sanctuaries.
I see.
The Tarakodor Belau Mablul a food security. A gida mala odi medra agargir. Masum budok mudi en modia kalian lihat taklum sih. Omamula badangnya langi kira. Luas jagumur atiau, lagumur ngidi lengi kira. Em dia kam dengelia mora gulir munta. Di omamula basyo. Luang rumah kau, ngederak, kir makir. En sebe edel rulia ungil el conservation. Mendia kapola kayu kerbelau. So that's the coconut and food security from the marine sanctuaries I have established. And now we have this green fee. The amount collected from the green fee since November 1 has gone beyond $1 million.
Oh, that's great.
And that goes to PAN.
In how many months?
In November. November, December, January.
9 months?
About 10 months now.
10 months now, okay.
More than $1 million.
Okay.
So Palau is doing well. And then our tourism is flourishing.
Yeah, just
The records
read
show
amazing numbers.
it's going up.
60% increase from Japan, 40% increase from Taiwan. Very good.
Very good.
And with this incident just recently, you know, there's an incident in the Philippines where a lot of about 8 people were shot,
Chinese from
and
Hong Kong.
there's a lot of cancellation of the flights coming from Hong Kong at the hotels, also cancellations, you know, so they're going to divert those people probably coming over here. But President, since we're on that issue, we need to work on this airport security or a check, not security, but I mean the. Because you know we have potential flights coming. They want to come. They want to fly in during the night when the aircraft are just idling. They're not flying, and they want to fly in. And that's a lot of tourists we're talking about, Mr. President. If that old airport, we can increase the number of people that doing the baggage check, you know, then we can hire more people and open that so we can serve maybe 2 airlines at a time during the night, you know, so they can fly in and out, and then that way we can increase the number of tourism coming to Palau.
Yes, I am now organizing or creating a special task force with responsibility to review the security of the airport with U.S. grant of about $400,000 to see how to make Palau a very safe destination. Because safety and security make Palau a favored destination. And the reason why I'm doing this is to diffuse the conflict between my Minister of Public Infrastructure, Industries and Commerce, Jackson Mirangas, and Basco. So I want to make sure it's the decision to establish a very strict security is not politically motivated. There's no personal feelings involved. It's done right. It will happen. And that's a special gift to you, so why don't you show it to the media?
I'm looking at him, Mr. President, and I laugh because, you know, that when we went to New York and that was 60th anniversary of United Nations, something like that, and it was very big
deal.
thing.
Yeah.
You know, and there were so many different people, head of states coming from different, countries. And by the time we got there, no rooms. And average rooms goes like $700-800 a night. And I really thank you, Stuart Beck, Ambassador, he's a member of a Harvard club right in the middle of, next to Times Square.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he managed to get 2 rooms in there. They're nice rooms. So Senator Alan Seed and myself were able to find a room right there. It's a walking distance from our mission, you know, so we walk, it takes about, 25 minutes to walk from there, about the same distance from the train station to our mission. And I thank you for that because we were paying much less than $500.
Well, let me congratulate you for being an alumnus of
Yeah.
Harvard University.
Okay for me to wear this, you know. This is it, you know, Harvard squash, New York City. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for this shirt. I like the color of it. You know, I probably if I wear this around town, those people from New York, they say, hey man, where are you from New York? Are you from New York? Anyway, thank you so much. Mr. President?
Talking about New York, let
Yeah.
me inform the public that after Honolulu Compact Review, I'll be returned to Palau and then fly to New York to attend the United Nations General Assembly session toward the end of September. I'll be leaving Palau maybe on the 20th.
I see.
Because I'll address the United Nations on September
24.
24. So I'll be there. And you may
see.
go with me if you so desire.
Sure. Have you picked a number? What is it number? How many?
We have a slot.
We have a slot.
Yeah.
On Friday the 24th, which is a good slot because many people are being pushed into Saturday and Sunday. So we have a good slot.
I see.
So if you do come, please wear that T-shirt because you'll be able to then get a discount at the Harvard Club.
September, I think, is still warm enough for us to walk around in New York City with this thing on.
For sure.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice.
But it's interesting too that before we became independent, I went to the United Nations once or twice with Kuniwa Nakamura, former president, and others, as a petitioner. Once to promote the separation of Palau, to justify our separation. And the second was I went there on behalf of IRI State when the US was building the airport. There was a lot of erosion to the lagoon. I went there to talk about the environment. So it's a world stage which gives Palau a chance to raise issues of great concern to Palau and the world. One of which, let me say, in my next appearance, is to speak about Angaur phosphate mining.
Okay.
Which became basically an exploitation.
Complete exploitation. We must redress those grievances somehow.
By Germany. So that the short statement would be, we need redress of our grievances to heal the land and the people.
Yeah, Mr. President, this is I'm going to offer this, and I think it's best that we take this offer because, see, you're a very busy man, and we have so many different schedules. When you say, I'm going to appear on every week at this time, that's going to be hard for you. So I think if you just, when your schedule is open to do the show, just simply call me at least about 2 days before time so I can announce to the public, you know, that you're going to be here. And that way, you know, we don't have to set the schedule like every Wednesday you're here. No, only when you are available. Only when you have very important messages or you want to talk to the public, my station is always open for you to come.
Let me tell you 2 reasons why I also need to be transparent, to go public. One was the letter in the Island Times, kind of alleging that I tried to claim credit for the victory of the Palau team during the micro games, and involving my cousins and brothers. So we tried to write a rebuttal to Island Times. And the publisher refused even to allow me to have a statement to rebut the false allegations in that newspaper.
I see.
And so my question is, whom is Island Times trying to protect? And the letter was by someone whose name was withheld. It's not even the editorial of the paper. And the second is some kind of a note which was brought to my attention dated July 8, 2008, allegedly from one Maurice Davidson. And let me read it to you because I like to go public with this. It says, "Hi Terry, I will be coming to UK on 25th July 2008 and will be in UK for about 1 month. I am sure that we will be able to put together a plan that will be beneficial to both our companies. Terry, my position has always been that money is not everything. All I need is a little support along the way. I would not be asking you for money if it was not absolutely essential. I am being bombarded every day by Governor Jackson, Ambassador Toribiong for financial assistance for their presidential campaign. And up to date, Mr. Juan, Julian, and I have already supported them with about $200,000 US. The 10,000 pounds you provided has helped, and I was counting on Robert Cox's 20,000 pounds. If he can give it to me by the end of July, it will help tremendously, as I will need to make good on promises that I made to Ambassador Toribiong. I am just very worried that if I cannot keep the promises I made to Ambassador Toribiong, he may hold it against us when he wins the election. Number one, in July of 2008, Jackson and I were not running mates. The primary election took place in September. And secondly, I never got anything like this amount from Morris. I represented him in 2 cases and I was paid for it in a small amount, legal fees. And this amount is the same amount as was alleged to have been given to my former ambassador, Jackson Henry. And if you look at this letter, it doesn't make sense. So when Bernadette called me, I said, call Maurice Davidson and find out. This is a hearsay. So let the world know it's false. Maybe it was intended to defraud somebody, or maybe it's fabricated.
I see.
Magkibata belaw, tial bavier lukong aknilaw do dra Maurice na kama Jackson at yulub raw era kibom da karumur tra July. O si siul time and din nakaudo ng galat.
I see.
E da lerel merangak, lerel morateri. El ateri ma Maurice ala kakawat raw do ng lorger.
I see.
Batala o si ko sa do ng lorger.
Anyway,
hindi ka sa kamsado ngi. Hindi alkong koramor olbira kululaw. Madikte desi. It made some appearance in this letter, and people call me. So I just like to clarify. I have a very huge wastebasket.
There you go for a wastebasket, Mr. President. You know, we have 2 official languages here in Palau, Palawan and English. But here's the note was just passed on to me. Said, can you speak the other official language?
Okay.
Okay.
Let's wrap things up with our visit to Hillary Clinton on March 12, 2009 at U.S. Department of State building. And she was your classmate at Yale Law School, correct?
Yes.
And that led to the opening up of the compact review from being a review to being a negotiation. Okay. So thank you for your advice and your connection and your services.
Well, thank you, President. Let me say, and I don't get a chance to speak to Senator Diaz and to his wide audience very often, but I would like to say congratulations to you and to Ambassador Kashiba and to the entire compact team, because when we first engaged with the Americans, when you were just elected, just taken office in January, the American government said that we would get nothing, 0, that we were entitled to no review, even though we had had a precipitous decline in the value of our trust fund. But now, a year and a half later, after the meeting with Secretary of State Clinton, after your wisdom in accepting refugees from around the world at the request of President Obama, after the good work that the whole country is doing to avoid being seen like other Pacific states as not responsible with regard to fiscal matters, you are now going to Honolulu to discuss on the table a $250 million proposal by the United States. So in 1 year, it went from 0, we give you nothing, to you please take $250 million plus federal programs. So I would like to say that what has just happened, I think, is the most important negotiation in Palau's history since the original negotiation of the compact, because you have now provided 15 years of a secure safety net. Now we must rise above that with private enterprise, but there's a safety net for the people. And I want to congratulate you for that.
Well, Ambassador, we met Hillary Clinton in March, then we met her again in September in New York at Waldorf Hotel. That was a great meeting.
That was a great meeting, yeah.
And that goes to prove that the issue of the refugees is on the top of the head of Hillary Clinton.
That's
What did
how
she
it
say
goes, top
there?
of the head. Well, we met in a room. Hillary Clinton, first of all, in all my other years there, no Secretary of State ever asked the Pacific leaders to come to a luncheon. So they organized a luncheon. You sat in the seat of honor, and she went all around the table, and she called on one person, another person, but you were
On the
saved.
Pacific Island
The
states.
Pacific Island leaders, you were saved until the end. And when she introduced you, she said, and now finally, I would like to introduce President Toribiong, and I want to congratulate him for his courage in accepting the Uyghurs here in Palau. So Palau was on the lips publicly of the Secretary of State. And later that week, President Obama, at a press conference, when asked a question by a reporter about why I think Germany wasn't helping him, he said, I wish everyone was like Palau.
Thank you, Stuart. I think this should conclude our joint conference. Let me speak Palawan about an issue of foreign workers registration.
Okay, Mr. President, going
Okay.
adjusted the camera, I mean, air conditioner. Mr. President, ngaringa bebira
Again.
atoil suada cocktail ngatam the what the alle sola the smoke like an mara blue, mapol clear pol ke crea
Lumuwi.
ang lumura blue. Kote President sel registration fee aku mo ring ilwa se fee le tarada sen tax na como do sin fee registration fee el blel impose ringi loya ka executive order kami sodi ilwa se ngararal o muliaki e solange e gruli sel $25 sel fee mo se ela immigration el malaringi mal open finance malaringi e register rarokuil adaloro rapulur pelao tirkel el tira legally binding by the contract matirgel tir engani aparte selo as amnesty program el wase maad telmala ba pieringi as el register ra immigration e moral labor mula ABCD engel mu telmo os mo legal el elian lo pelao kami so dice $25 luase sen sebem di kau tu bade executive order kot makli sei al oben require lar ol bi rahlulau momru se kam so dice president.
Okay, sale $25 ada kal tax fee. Mo cover administrative cost ra management administration kal process because most pay ilmru la form e most pay pera betok la adal morior el cover medel im tela la adra blue belau meng pal tok do tam oiter tiang leng tal bui lam sang ma gult badi le sugum adal ngare belau foreign workers im tela ya $25 $125,000 tagi del gotrak ya gult badi waise ese ngayak TCL obisa president ma obisa immigration الجوت مكلي بمديم لك مرورة باسر لا أجيم له amendra existing regulations نالنيا regulations ما جديم له amendra يقول تراك لا ما يقول تبدي سيل proposed amendment المرة regulation را June 15 يا لا أواسي نالنيا 15 days الاناونس رني را radio يجي post رني را a courthouse, office of domestic affairs, moolbil for the next 30 days. Misera July 16, em domrek sel first edim naka other propose any changes.
I see.
Dim naka other om togorngi. Mungok mo again next 30 days, el gimlu til mengil. Mo August 15. Ede ka ngal medu mo office immigration magmama atap tringil molla meng agera wase tamlar agir regal medel lo gol mal club se esila la ado mesringin gotra al dorur ni meng atid el mongsong saududet Magdruli $25. Yo mesringi wasing malmlek lo mlegegre. SB edel ko kon nga tringi ra 2011.
I see.
Leng agi simbay rulit mal ngario e mo dia SB printa baviere manager e email telal foreign workers. Ya mokte kertiang e senator ultuira a policy nga luasyar foreign workers nga belau ada algiri lengalak ra 1/3 ra other belau 6,000 a ceiling a tenjo kilt makli sebel lengalak alnganya uspel kad meka exception di generally di mo 6,000 neglas to pela nga email tela ya gimu obis sing nariyak medel 1,000 kakaros ra record ra immigration malay bur giel ditmak betemla rulin mo atter di elangat tok laat mal ter la amir belau e dia kalu dud la ke dud ngara contractor tir le every foreign worker agir nga employment contractor tir mesin mo record ra foreign workers ngul local sure ra record ra social security en awanai le ngaya dia kalu dud la magdulu saudi dia atar belau ra ru re gil hara tax e betok tir amir belau e dia kalu ra gel lurerir tengaran klik Euriol Mora Stuart Beck. Mal ubet temel giril laiksang other series. Magdrulin man mo bertak. Dem tokor tir what they call economic migrants. Toshikat ale tirin morme. Ya issue security ko to ibang building nga Miss Christine Chang Downer. Lom TSL US Department of State Office to Combat Human Trafficking. Lebelam ne mengita isira kal mergorak men swad al muad al merbelau e make sure mo ngil loro re udud le harat taksel e dia kal ora rablu mal clol abuse men tom le isel belau e dia kal ngir ra human rights maklat magdamru ringi lo sigit meng tigit al fustir bere mal $25 e do mesringi masu mo mereka tigit registration e mal clo e kado yang tira next deal mo atter le kadam na print form mau tangal tarak ya segum kawa ngar belau nak tu melial ula al belau dan dia kemurul masih lurere e dia kemudud murt tra magit mal ube kamla expire set permit tergau e kam mon lureur e kemau register e set register e agi meska mol mutra December 31 al musmo okr kaul mul tirak lalla December 31 ya segum dia e kemau me Ekmat tu melial lah. Alla angan ngi yaw ngelil. Sebel klub sinya at ngal taw na lak patemil.
Okay.
Ya segum halik mo. Ya segum. Gawa dia kam register illegal. Lego ba